Welcome into the bonus show. This is usually for paid subscribers, but I decided to open this up to all subscribers on the email list. So let's get into it. In a world without hockey, I do think it would be a very interesting dimension if we lived in there. No ice hockey. All right. Now, I don't know if there would be any alternatives like ball hockey or roller hockey. In fact, if ice hockey is not invented, that's probably not invented too. Field hockey would probably be a little more dominant. There probably would be some male teams as well. When it came to field hockey, they certainly have them up in Europe or over in Europe. And I think lacrosse would be a little more popular. Soccer would be the fourth biggest sport in the United States, even though it wouldn't be the same way the NHL is. I still don't see that being up there. But I do think baseball, basketball, and football would have had more of a market share. Their revenue would have grown more because there's no hockey there. Wayne Gretzky probably would have been an accountant up in Alberta or Toronto. He'd be at like some major firm or something at some point. Or maybe he's a figure skater. Now there's no hockey rinks. It's not called a hockey rink in this dimension. So speed skaters and figure skaters dominate. And since there are no ice hockey players, there is no concept of an ice hockey skate. Or if there is a design for that, it's very different. It's very different. So you get that. Now, when it comes to all the young athletes that were playing sports and becoming more athletic, there would be actually less of a skill set. Let me explain. Ice hockey players have to skate backwards. In fact, if anything, we are the players that have to master going backwards. Not so much the goalies, but forwards and defensemen need to master that. And there is no sport, no other sport where you actually have to master moving yourself backwards other than ice hockey. I can't think of it. Lacrosse, I mean, you can take 10 steps back, or in football, you take 10 steps back as well, and or you're doing some training exercise, but you're not actually mastering going back and being on an edge about half an inch thick. It doesn't really add up. It doesn't add up. It would not exist going backwards. So now this would open up a lot of opportunity for athletes. I do think lacrosse would be more popular. That's going to be one sport that's more dominant. I do think that without ice hockey, there'd be just some athletes that never play. I don't think, well, also in this dimension, I never get a magazine article or a newspaper article in this dimension. I don't do that. Doesn't happen to me. So instead, I guess in this dimension, I just dominate lacrosse or something like that, or I don't know. There's something though. There's something I dominate at because I just didn't want to leave sports, and I felt a very good connection with it too. So let's say I try lacrosse at one point as well. So that would happen to me. Now, in terms of friendships, all the friendships that were built around hockey do not exist in this dimension. Now, maybe some kids would see each other at school or something because they're all in the same neighborhood, so they find each other anyway in this dimension. But a lot of friendships that I just don't see. They, like Zach Arden on my podcast. If ice hockey was not invented, I probably wouldn't have met him, and well, one, because we'd be playing lacrosse, and two, I think, and I wouldn't even be sure if I'd be doing podcasting or anything or writing Substack newsletters, but we're in two different sports and we're at two different schools, never meet each other. Another Bulldog that I never would have met would be Sam Shirker as well. Also in this universe, personally for me, I would not have played under a teammate of Don Lucia as well, and that would be David Lucia. So don't ever meet the guy, and I don't have that impact on my life, and I guess lacrosse would be more dominant, and I would have a tougher time, but I'd eventually get over it quickly, either because I become a goalie, and in fact, in this dimension, I probably would be a goalie because the one reason I wasn't a goalie in ice hockey was because I couldn't do a butterfly. I just couldn't. It is so hard to plop down on the inside of your knees, and it just wouldn't be possible. In this alternate dimension, I think there would actually be less wood produced. There'd be a lot less trees cut down because hockey, for the longest time, used wooden sticks. Lacrosse and baseball were using metal more. Were using metal already. Back in the 80s and the 70s, they had metal sticks they were working with, and wooden sticks would not work well with lacrosse for the most part, or it would be some sort of plastic stick. But for the most part, they were all metal when I was growing up, so I don't see... Yeah, there was no... I'm actually going to look this up real quickly, and I'll just talk through this. But wooden lacrosse sticks. Apparently, they exist, but for the most part, they break as well. Whatever resources that were in the constructing of hockey helmets would be those producers, those factories would be in the business of producing lacrosse equipment, and actually lacrosse equipment would be cheaper because there's more people looking for jobs in that industry, and they'd find a way to get the cost down lower, so more workers, more producers, and thus more people supplying that equipment, you're going to see a lower price. Also, I think we would see more chess players because, once again, there'd be less athletes, because some kids would be just like, I don't want to play any sports because ice hockey was not available to them. Now I think with a game like chess, that certainly is up there, and it's kind of important as well to help the kids strategize their moves and learn competition as well. And without the dominance of without that element of, competition, kids do tend to fall apart already there. Continuing on, ice hockey. There'd be a lot. So there'd also be more ice time available, and ice time would be cheaper, and you could put more rinks there. So let's take the Cabin John Ice House or Rockville, and you have 3 Olympic-sized rings there. There's also no bench for hockey, or if there's a bench, there's like some sort of, segmented off area, and it's not the traditional benches you see for hockey. So it's just one area, like stuck in a corner on the other side or something. So we don't see that as well. I don't know in terms of the figure skaters or the speed skaters. I don't think they would necessarily have any change in cost for signing up for them, but who knows as well. I also think that we would not see synthetic ice as soon as we did back over a decade ago. I do think that would come about, but it would just take a while. Also, in this dimension, since there's no concept of a hockey stick, describing economics might be something of like, I don't know, something we describe with airplanes, like, I don't know, like a pull-up or something like that, or whatever we're doing in Top Gun, whatever they were doing there, when they pull the jet up off the ground and then it just goes up to the sky, like or something like that. It would be so I guess like a hockey stick would not exist. Now I guess with basketball arenas, they tend to transition to ice hockey rinks, whether that's for the minor leagues or the NHL. But so I think you would still have those workers working to transition to a different sport. It would just be lacrosse or arena football, something like that. And also, I think arena football would have taken off a little more because there were some players that were structured. There were athletes that I played with that were 6'8", and they were like a foot taller than some of the other guys. And what happened was that what happened was that they dominated, but the 6'8" athletes, 6'8" athletes would either go to football, or they would be on basketball, or they'd dominate lacrosse or something. They would just go there, or male volleyball would be more popular. The girls that would now without men's hockey, there's no women's hockey, and it still doesn't exist. There would be a lot more athletes that would have. I think you'd actually see more cover in the trades, as well. One thing about me as well. Also scholarships. There's no ice hockey scholarships up in Minnesota or Wisconsin or Michigan Tech or wherever. That doesn't exist in this dimension. So a lot less athletic scholarships, and I guess those athletes or those would have been athletes would have to get in on their merits with schoolwork. So, yeah. College basketball would be bigger in this dimension, and you'd have more games because you have more facilities as well, and it's just easier to do it as well. And I think that would be, it'd be good for college basketball fans, but it's not. Yeah, but it just wouldn't be the same. I don't know if you'd have arena football or something there, or something in its place if it were to transform into that thing, or if they'd do like sort of like indoor lacrosse or something, if they would transition it to that, and it wouldn't be too pricey either because you're not putting ice down, you're just covering up an area and moving some seats back, and it's not really it's not too much to ask for, really, of them. I mean, it would get maybe a little pricey at first, but you'd find a way to do it in the school as well. Also, a lot more field sports. Baseball players, there'd be... Now, in the professional sports, there'd be more professional teams. If the MLB would have at least 32 teams. The NBA would also have at least 32 teams. Here's a theory. There's all three leagues of the NFL, the MLB, and the NBA have 40 teams, and they have 120 teams total. Okay? There you go. And I guess they would cover Portland. I guess Fresno would get at least one team. Chicago has, at least all four teams as well. I don't know if the White Sox and the Cubs would still be there. Oklahoma City could have a baseball team. Nebraska could certainly have a baseball team. Or like Lincoln, Nebraska, or Omaha, Nebraska would do it. We had OKC. We had New Orleans could potentially have a team. Montreal would certainly have a team because there's no ice hockey. They want a sport. They would have it as well. It would probably be indoors. Toronto, absolutely. Vancouver could even have a baseball team in this dimension as well. I don't know, in regards to the NFL and the CFL, I don't know if they'd find a way to merge the two, but there's a reason why there's a Canadian football team and an American football team, and there's just enough of a different rule, and I guess maybe they'd come to a compromise at some point in this dimension. Basketball, I guess Calgary could certainly have an NBA team. That'd be hilarious if that actually happened as well, in regards to that. San Diego would have teams in all three sports. Baltimore would probably still have an NBA team now. They'd find a way to make it work because you get 40 teams. Cities like Sunrise would not have a team. I don't think Columbus would have a team necessarily. Maybe they'd have a basketball team or something. Indiana would certainly have a baseball team somewhere in the state. Bloomington, maybe. Who knows? Louisville doesn't even have a professional team. So I guess in this dimension, they find it and they have a baseball team or a basketball team because Louisville Slugger, I guess, as well. Yeah. Man, that's a lot though. I guess the without any ice hockey, I as well. We're going back to equipment, chest protectors, knee pads are designed more for lacrosse and football, and I guess baseball as well because you have the one knee pad on your shin when you're up to bat. So the equipment material makers are for designing that for those sports. I think the most popular sport in this dimension is going to be basketball because it's easy to play, it's cheap to play, and there's 40 teams that are all in major markets or even minor markets like Salt Lake City or Portland. They're going to be there. Vegas is going to have an NBA team. Didn't mention that there. And basketball is everywhere in this dimension as well. And you can dribble it, and basketballs are about $5 a piece. So it would be really popular as well. And more kids would be playing it as well, and you'd see a lot more teams, and I guess athletes would just take their time and improve it. That now I don't know if Michael Jordan in this dimension would be playing baseball, but who knows? Let's say he does, but he's still considered the GOAT in this dimension as well. Yeah, so basketball is the most dominant sport in the world. In this dimension because the Americans and the Canadians don't have ice hockey, so the Connor Bedards and the Connor McDavids of the world just get good at playing getting good at playing basketball. So they take their deking technique to the to basketball. So I guess it sort of translates, but any tall athlete is a basketball player, and I guess those with average heights they still find a way to dominate, but it's just harder in this dimension. So basketball would be the most popular sport, not soccer, because in North America we just for whatever reason have just drawn the line with that. We love Mexican food, we love Doctor Who, we love we love Star Wars, even though that's sort of American with British actors in there. But for whatever reason, we still are going to draw the line at soccer because either because it's too slow or it's just not as exciting and there's not a lot of scoring, because basketball would be doing the most scoring. And with about 400 or nearly 500 million people in this dimension, just preferring basketball over soccer would place basketball over soccer in the long run. So just an extra 500 million more people, and basketball is the most popular sport in the world as well. So that would be basketball. I almost forgot. So there's no lines in on the Olympic rinks, the Olympic ice rinks. So there's no red line, there's no blue line, there's no goal line or dots or anything like that. It's just a sheet of white ice. That's it. And the pro shop is just skate sharpening, or it's going to be filled with sweatpants, new skates, or they'll have some try-on area as well to do it. There's no sticks. It's just replaced with skates, equipment, headbands, maybe a helmet or so. They'll have a section for helmets. as well, but it's not going to be overly dominated as well. So, but there would be pads, there would be something for those getting training, and in skate sharpening would just be preset to figure skaters and speed skaters as well. So that would be it. So sweatsuits, sweatpants, and the ice is just one white sheet of ice. So let me know what you thought of this in the comments on Substack. I would love to hear your feedback. Hit that, click that heart button. This isn't YouTube, but click the heart button. Let me know what you thought of this, and I'll see you all. I will talk to you all on the podcast, and I'll see you all on the podcast, and check out my YouTube channel. Peace out.